Alright, here are solutions to quiz 2 for Math 95. We're asked to simplify this rational expression as much as possible. Kind of like the first quiz, except now the denominators are different here, so it's a little bit more difficult. First step you want to do on problems like this is you want to factor the bottom here. Factor all the denominators, although this one's already factored. So x squared plus 10x plus 24, what we're looking for there are two numbers. It's a second degree polynomial, 3 terms, and leading coefficient is 1. So we need two numbers that multiply to 24, add to 10, which you can go ahead and write like this. This is kind of the form it will come in, and those two numbers go here and here. So in this case it's 4 and 6, so I can write x plus 4 and x plus 6. And then from that I want to subtract x minus 5 divided by x plus 6. And you look at this thing right here, and we almost have the same denominator. They both have an x plus 6 in them, but this one's missing an x plus 4. So what we need to do is add an x plus 4 over here. But you can't just go adding numbers. We could add x plus 4 over x plus 4 because that's just equal to 1, so that won't get us into trouble. So now what we have is a common denominator. So we can just write it once, x plus 4 times x plus 6. And up top we got x squared minus 14, and then minus whatever this thing's equal to. Maybe this is worth doing over to the side somewhere. Sure, right here. I want to figure out what is x minus 5 times x plus 4. You don't have to write it like this. If you can just see the answer, or if you have different methods, that's fine. But I'll write it like just this, just to be consistent. You get x squared, you get negative 5x, you get plus 4x, and you get negative 20. And if you add up these four numbers right here, what you'll get is x squared minus x minus 20. So what we got to do is, maybe I'll leave this green so you can see where it came from, is subtract, because we're subtracting here, this whole thing. I think this is the most common place for mistakes to be made. Sometimes people just subtract the first term. Leaving out these parentheses can be trouble. You want to subtract this whole thing. And so what that ends up doing is it changes the problem into x squared minus 14 minus x squared plus x plus 20. Kind of taking this negative sign and distributing it to all three terms in here. So that gets me to here. My denominator stays the same, x plus 4 times x plus 6. And now let's see, up top we got x squared, we got minus x squared, so those cancel each other out. We got an x from right here, and then 20 minus 14 is positive 6. We want to divide that by x plus 4 times x plus 6. If this feels a little familiar, I think we did this exact example in class. Figured it might be nice to have a quiz problem that you've seen before. So anyways, after you cancel out the x plus 6 over x plus 6, what you're left with is 1 divided by x plus 4, which is your final answer. Alright, moving on to this one. This one's a little bit complicated. We have a complex rational expression, because we kind of have a fraction divided by a fraction. If the bottom part here doesn't look like a fraction, you can put x minus 9 over 1. That might help you. What makes this problem difficult is it's kind of two fractions divided by a fraction. If it was one fraction divided by a fraction, we'd be all right. We know how to divide fractions. But since it's two fractions, we have to make the top just a single fraction. You do that by finding a common denominator. Get a common denominator by multiplying this side by 9 over 9 and this side by x over x. And so what that ends up giving you is 9 over 9x minus x over 9x, all divided by x minus 9 divided by 1. And now we have the same denominator up here, so we can write that as 9 minus x over 9x. Sure, I'll write one more step here, x minus 9 over 1. And then you're like, oh, fraction over a fraction, I know how to deal with that. It's a lot like multiplying fractions, except you multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. So we got to flip the bottom here upside down. And then you look at this, you really want to cancel out the 9 minus x and x minus 9, but it doesn't quite work out to cancel them out. However, if you get a little bit clever, you'll notice that 9 minus x is the same as negative x minus 9. I think that's a little trick we went over in class. And so if you write 9 minus x is negative x minus 9, then you can cancel out this x minus 9 and this x minus 9 and get for your final answer, -1 divided by 9x. And that's the final answer. That little process that we just went through, this problem, it's not just a problem I made up. I mean, it is a problem I made up, but it's actually a problem from calculus. Evaluating things like this is really important in a calculus class. So a couple classes ahead of where we are, but I thought it might be interesting to know that this thing actually has relevance later on. But that's the end of this quiz.